Hey there, and welcome to a CLNS Red Sox Roundtable. Alex Barth along with Nick Quaglia after Rick Porcello gets blown up once again, this time by the Tampa Bay Rays. Nick, before we get into the analysis, I just want to run through some numbers real quick on Rick Porcello, who started the season as hot as any pitcher in baseball, but since he's allowed three or more earned runs in 4 straight starts, in 5 of his last 6, the one exception came against the woeful last-place Texas Rangers, and his ERA has gone up almost 1.5 points in the last month. It was 2.14 at the beginning of the month. It now sits around 3.4. Concerned, Nick? I think we got to sound the alarm here on Ricky P.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. There are definitely things that you would like better out of Rick Porcello. I mean, that's the basic analysis. You don't have to pitch better than this. This dog crap. The beginning of the season, he looked like 2016 Rick Porcello. I'm not saying he looked like Cy Young Rick Porcello, but you know what? To be honest with you, it was kind of damn close. He was pitching really well, and that sinker ball was really biting at the beginning of the year. Ever since that Yankees game, not to get into specifics right now, but ever since that Yankees game, that's when things kind of took a turn for the worse for him. I think it was in New York. It was a series in New York, and I mean, put it frankly, he got his ass kicked. And ever since then, it kind of just seems like he fell off the train, and it doesn't look like he's hurt. It doesn't look like there's any ailment on him. It just looks like he's back to sucking from last year. I mean, put it frank, it just looks like he sucks again.
And that's the optimist Nick Quaglia there with that take. So you can only imagine where I'm coming from. And you mentioned him not being hurt. I think he needs a phantom trip to the DL just to clear his head, if anything.
He needs a blister.
He absolutely does. 3 2/3 in Tampa against a woeful Tampa lineup that David Price just manhandled. David Price? Yeah, I'm concerned about Rick Porcello. I'm concerned about the Red Sox rotation as a whole. Still, I told all of you that the first 2 weeks were an anomaly. And yes, they were outstanding those first 2 weeks, but they played Tampa and they played Miami, and they did it indoors. Okay, this Red Sox starting rotation is still a problem. Nothing has changed. You know who I want to see back in the starting rotation? Hector Velasquez. Just called up off the DL. He's been good. He's been one of their best pitchers, starter or bullpen. I think it's time Rick Porcello gets a little finger blister playing Fortnite. I got it right?
Yeah.
That's how you know I'm serious.
Not frostbite.
I think it's time Rick Porcello gets a Fortnite blister, he goes on the DL, and we put Hector Velasquez back in the starting rotation. Because whatever it is, Rick Porcello needs some time to clear his head. We all know how mental pitching is, and I mean, you saw him against Tampa, 3 2/3 innings, and he didn't look comfortable for any of them. They got to figure out what's going on with him, and I think as some time away from the mound will help him out.
In this series finale against the Rays, I turned on the TV, turned it on late, bases loaded, no outs. I was like, what is happening? This is another Rick Porcello start. And you know, don't get me wrong, the Tampa Bay Rays, I'm not making any kind of excuse for him because he should beat the Tampa Bay Rays. Their lineup is a little underrated, but regardless, he should not be giving up the amount of runs that he's given up so far tonight. Or at the time of this recording, there's no excuse for it. There's absolutely no excuse for it. The good thing for the Red Sox right now that they do have going for them is, so Hector Velasquez is back from the DL. Hector Velasquez had that back injury. He's been the most consistent reliever in that bullpen. When he comes in, we talked about this on past roundtables. When he came in, you knew that he was going to pitch well. You had a good feeling that he was going to be consistent for you and get you out of jams.
So why can't they start him?
Be a long reliever, and that's a solution for them. You also have Stephen Wright, and he's only had two.
Pass.
These are options. He's had 2 relief appearances so far. So good. That knuckleball is dancing real well. So I'm just saying you have 2 legitimate options, and whether or not you want to call Stephen Wright a legitimate option, fine. But you've got at least Hector Velasquez.
For the record, I don't.
I know you don't. Yeah, at least have Hector Velasquez as a legitimate option, and then Stephen Wright too. So
I'll take Brian Johnson over Stephen Wright, Nick, if we're being honest.
For what? Right. Stephen Wright's had a good first 2 appearances, and he's lasted long in the game. Stephen Wright's going to have a good year. Mark that down, starting pitcher at some point this year. Especially
he'll start a game at some point, but I don't want to go to him as my emergent. And like I said, he's pitched well out of the bullpen. Why move him?
Why move Hector Velasquez? He's pitched well out of the bullpen.
he's pitched well in the starting rotation too. I'm still not sold on Steven Wright just because, again, he's 35, coming off the shoulder injury, knuckleballer. I think, it's like a house of cards. You got it teetering right there. You got the card just balanced. Don't screw with it at all. It shouldn't be working, but it is. So don't tweak it. Hector Velasquez, can pitch well in the starting rotation. But whatever it is, I think it's time for a phantom DL trip for Rick Porcello. Nick, and I'll ask you the optimist, and I think everybody knows what my answer is. And I'm on the record saying this. The Cy Young year was an anomaly, both in the fact that he pitched as well as he did, and the fact that he won the Cy Young. He wasn't great that year. Remember, he got a lot of run support.
Yes, he was. He was great. He was excellent that year.
Look at the last 5 Cy Young years in the American League. One of them clearly does not belong. He won 20 games.
It was the worst one.
Right. It was the worst one. And he pitched well. Don't get me wrong. He pitched well.
Excellent.
But 9 years out of 10, and Nick, you should agree with this. If you have any reasonable bone in your body, 9 years out of 10, that's not a Cy Young year.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. But regardless, he still got the Cy Young.
He did. But
still pissed off Kate Upton on Twitter.
Was the anomaly, not the rule. This is who Rick Porcello is. I am worried about his role on this team for the rest of the season. Nick, I'm going to have you kind of close this on a positive note. Maybe. Or be honest with me, though. Are you worried about Rick Porcello for the rest of the season? Or do you think this is just a bump in the road and DL trip or not? He can turn it around and become a reliable starting pitcher again.
I'm very worried about Rick Porcello for the rest of the season. And mainly because out of the 4 years.
If you're worried.
This is the real Nick Quaglia, okay? Don't believe Alex. I'm not crazy optimistic.
Well, this is the real Rick Porcello we're seeing. Let me throw that on there.
This is his 4th year, correct? With the Red Sox, right? This is his 4th season?
Yes,
it is. So we've seen this Rick Porcello more often than not. Like you said,
it's 3-1.
2016 year, that was the anomaly, like you said. 2015, he was a bum. We were worried about him. He was brought over here, and you're like, why would you pay this guy this much money to come over here and be a bum? 2016, Cy Young, okay, maybe. You're getting promotions to 2017 about the big 3, David Price, Chris Sale, Rick Porcello, and then he sucks. And the beginning of this year, he looks good, and he's reverting back into what we've seen most of the time. You said it. You said it. The Cy Young is not who Rick Porcello is most of the time. The guy that I think that we are seeing in these past few games, I think this is the real Rick Porcello. I think he's at best at his normality a 4th starter. Maybe. He's not a good 3 starter. He's a 4th starter, maybe.
And you didn't use the word potential to say that he could maybe grow. And I'm very proud of you, Nick. I'm rubbing off on you.
I almost did.
Let the negativity run. All right, that'll do it for us on this roundtable. For more coverage of the Red Sox throughout the weekend, make sure you follow at Red Sox CLNS on Twitter and check us out online at clnsmedia.com. For Nick Quaglia, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for watching.